Now, can you hear me
There we
now?
go. Yes, I can hear
Okay.
you now.
All
Thank you.
right. Uh, can you see my screen?
Well, now we just lost your screen. So we
Okay.
could see your screen, but we couldn't hear you. But I feel like we're almost there.
How about now?
Perfect. We're good to go.
Okay. I apologize.
No, you're great. Thanks, Candace.
Good morning, everybody. First of all, I just want to tell you a little bit about myself. I've started using GP as a controller in 2000. So I've been seeing it for a long time. And then in 2008, I started doing support. So that's just a little history. But we're going to start with the first slide. These are just some tips that I've gathered over the years. And some of you may know about this, but this is the find function, which is available in all reports. Once you send them to the screen, if you're particularly looking for a certain dollar amount and it's a long report, you just click on the find, enter it, and make sure you enter it exactly with the dollar sign and the comma uh, because it's very particular. And you just find, and then you can find next and keep looking throughout the report. So you want to start at the top of the report on the first page and then use your find. Okay, and let's see, I'm trying to go to the next slide. Okay, here's another one to help people with their budgets and keep others from going in and changing the numbers. There's a way to lock them, and it's a little padlock, and you can see it. I highlighted it in yellow on the right, and that way, no other users can go in and make changes. And it's going to ask you for a password, and just make sure you remember the password. And the next one is also about budgets. If you've got several departments and everybody sent their own spreadsheet and they enter their budget numbers, um, you can start with one budget for a department and then you can combine them. So you can have three, four, however many budgets, one for each department, and then you start one at a time and you combine two, and then you'll have a master budget, and then you'll combine that one with your additional budgets. And to me, this will save a lot of headaches trying to get it all in one spreadsheet to import. So I thought this was a really good tip. And here's another one. If you want to save time when you age your receivables, don't print the report because that is what takes a lot of the time to process. So if you don't need the report, just click the no report and it'll work a lot faster for you. And you can go back and print agings from the reports menu. So that's a good one to save some time. And another one, here's one that'll help protect your smart list favorites. This is going to keep anyone else from going in and adding columns or restrictions and saving them. This is so that it's just for you. And you can set a password that only you will know. And here's a good one for people that are going in and printing orders and all the other prints, the ticket print, picking ticket, slip, packing slip, everything that goes with that one document. You can do a little bit of setup, and then you'll have a shortcut, and you can print them all at the same time. Can you see? You just uncheck the keep current document displayed, and then when you print, they'll all come up one after another. So in this case, it's going to print the picking ticket and the packing slip, as well as the order and the invoice. Okay, here's something that I think a lot of people are going to be happy to hear is that now when your GP password is going to expire, you're going to get a warning 7 days in advance. So that way you're not going to get locked out when you're in the middle of something. And previously, these warnings weren't coming in, you weren't getting them. So people would get locked out and then someone would have to go in and change the password, SA user, and then, you could get back in. But now you're going to get a warning. So make sure you change your password and go from there. And this is a good one, a way to use your shortcut keys. You go to your favorites window, you add your window, your favorite, and then you can assign, when you go to the properties, you can assign a shortcut to it. In this case, it was the F5 key. So that way you'll just hit the shortcut and it'll open right away for you. Okay, and I really like this one a lot to help with payroll transaction entry. Um, Sometimes and frequently there are employees who will work for more than one department or have more than one position, and you want those amounts to be charged the right general ledger accounts. So you can go to the employee transaction auto split setup screen, enter the percentages that you want to go to each department, and then that way when the payroll entry person enters, say they would enter 40 hours, they don't have to worry about two transactions to split it. This will automatically overwrite and split it according to how you how you've got it set up. And this is one I hope a lot of people already know about, but a lot of times it's hard to know which fields are required before you can save and close the window. So if you go to your GP user preferences, you can click on required fields down at the bottom and choose I like red and bold. So you can, that way they will stand out, and especially for new users. I think this is a really helpful tip. And this is set by user, it's not universal. So everybody has to go to their own user preferences and make the change there. Okay, here's another tip that will help you with if you're gonna run the cash checkbook balance inquiry. If you enter the date range first and then select the checkbook, the date is going to populate a lot faster for you. So just try to remember, enter the date range first and then select the checkbook. And this is something relatively new. This is something you used to have to do in the Professional Services Tools Library, and only the SA user could do it. But now, if you got security, you can combine customers. And I know lots of times you'll end up with more than one customer card for the same customer with history, and you want to just, of course, use one of them. So you use this utility and it will combine them, and all the history will show up under the destination customer. And this is another way to tailor your smart list, because I know lots of times when you log into a smart list, it's going to show you 1,000 records unless you go in and search and change it. Well, this way you won't have to go, do that extra step. You go to the options and you pick the smart list and you can tell it. In this case, I want to see the first 10,000 records. And if you need more than that, you just 100, a million, whatever. And you also can arrange your account, your columns, move them around so that every time you open that smart list, it's going to show you, in this case, 10,000 records, and the columns will be in the order shown here. All right, and oops, I didn't mean to click ahead. This is something new in the latest versions of GP. They've added two new user-defined labels. That was because lots of customers had asked for this, just way to add more information, more description, whatever, tailored to your business. And you can label them in the setup window, the GL setup window. Um, whatever, if it's description, additional description, whatever, you can assign a label, and that way when users open it up, it will have the label and they can enter the additional information. And another good thing is you can add these fields to all the reports um, in GP and to the smart list. So, and it's the user defined fields are 30 characters long, which is gives you, lots of room um, to add, copy and paste what you need to into those fields. All right, this is something I think will also save some time is uh, having being able to have more than one default purchasing accounts pop up. Um, if you go to the vendor account maintenance and click on the ellipsis next to the purchases line, which has got the little red arrow, uh, then it'll open up, and let me go back one. In that window, you can enter 3 or 4, however many different expense accounts or whatever kind of accounts you need that invoice to be split to. And this is for people vendors that when you typically buy something, it's going to come in and you're going to have to split it up to different departments. Um, so you can set this in advance, and then when you open the window, you set it up to default and come in, and they'll have zeros, and then, oops, you'll be able to either enter amounts, and if you could leave them zero, you just leave the zero amount accounts if you don't need to post to those. So this will just save some time, and I think this is, a good tip to go in, and then that way your entry people won't be typing in a bunch and searching for lots of different accounts. Okay, and this is one that I think will help a lot of people. This is a way to automatically add the use tax to an invoice, and it doesn't change the invoice total, but it will book the expense and the liability for the use tax. There's You start with going to the company setup options, and you enable this reverse charge taxes. Once you've done that, you'll create two different new tax details. One is going to be positive, and that one is going to go to an expense account. And then the second one is going to be negative. and that's going to go to a payables account. And one thing you have to make sure is that you put the exact same percentage. It's 5% for the positive, and it's a negative 5% for the negative. And so now when you go in this instance, a $500 invoice came in, it's subject to tax, but the vendor didn't charge you tax. So you click on the arrow next to the tax entry window, entry field, and then they'll open up the payables tax window. You select both, in this case, the use tax negative and the positive, and GP calculates the tax amount. So now when you look at the distributions, you've got your purchases amount, and then it has credited your use tax payable account and debited, in this case, other taxes, which is the default. You have to set up a default. So in this case, I just set this up. But then the user can go in on the right and correct the general ledger account. And this is what it would look like, the distributions. So these are good reasons to use this feature. I mean, it's going to automatically calculate the tax for you and keep you out of trouble with the taxing authorities. It's going to show up on all the company reports that you need for use tax reporting, and it's going to be correct. Uh, so this is something I just recently found out and implemented for a client, and I know that it works great. And that is all I have. Um, does anyone have questions?
Yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to type them into the chat. Michael Ramatowski, do you have any questions that you can think of off the top of your head?
No, I watched. Good job, Candace. They're good tips. Do you have any other ones that you didn't have a PowerPoint slide that you could? Here's a question just came in. The feature to combine customers is the same for the AP side.
No, I don't. It's not. I think right off the top of my head, I'm not absolutely sure, but you can do it, but I think you have to use the professional services tools library. Maybe somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's just right now for customers.
Okay. Another question. Maybe not question, more of a comment. You can use it for vendors too and employees.
Well, the professional services tools library will do that. I mean, I'm not, unfortunately, not logged into GP right now, so I can't really verify. But anybody can, if you have a question, email me or just put it in the chat, and I'll find out and give you the
Here's
answer.
here's another question on the topic of combining records. Can you talk about merging vendor cards?
Yeah, you can select. It works basically. It's the same thing. You'll end up with the same vendor, but it has two different IDs. So it will go back and combine, and you tell it which one you want. The one you want to keep, and you just tell it to combine them, and it goes back and it moves the history to the master, to the new one, the parent, let's say. So you combine two of them, and all the history will have the vendor, the correct vendor ID. So if you have AT&T 1 and AT&T 2 and you said, oh, we don't need AT&T 2, then when you combine them, all of AT&T 2's history will show up under the AT&T 1, which I used AT&T because in my experience, I've seen a lot of people end up with, more than one account, more than one customer account when they just need the one. So yeah, it works great. I've never seen it go wrong.
Okay. Any other questions? And Tom, you'll be recording all these, right? And sending out recordings, the sessions?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So nobody has questions?
No other questions. I don't know.
All right.
No, good job. When's the next session, Tom?
Next session is going to be at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. That's going to be Active Reporter by Accountingware, brought to you by Marvin Crossnote. So we'll all enjoy an extended lunch break today, get caught up on some work, and we'll see you back at 1 p.m. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.